Shalom, Israel. This is ISUPK coming out of 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander Gianna. You already know what it is. You're tuning in every Wednesday, faking like you ain't tuning in. You're tuning in every day of the week, watching ISUPK classes, but you're too afraid to put the weed down. You're too afraid to come in here, but that's okay. This is what you can do. Pay your tithes to Commander Gianna. Pay your tithes to the ISUPK so we can build more schools, go travel to see more brothers in prison, feed more people in the hood, travel to your hood, and be on the speaker real loud telling you to put that weed down, even though you ain't going to do it. We're going to pray for you, Israel. That's what we're going to do. We're going to pray for you and keep trying to raise you up out of this hellhole that you call America, because we're dying in this country, man. We're going to be going over something heavy today. This is a book, right? This is a book. It's called The Color of Law, right? Color of Law. I would suggest you get that. What's up?
So, like, didn't you bring that out before just a little bit?
I didn't. I wasn't even able to get into it too much, but I did.
Okay.
We're going to be touching base on chapter 2, man. Yikes. Chapter 2. If you want to know why the Lord told you to separate from these other nations, this is going to be a shining example of why you should separate from these other nations. You ever wonder why black people ended up in the ghetto? Right, of course, we ended up in the ghetto to begin with because we sinned against the Lord. Like, that's why we, die and live in the ghetto and, poor and uneducated and everything else. But if you want to see kind of the details behind the plan, get this book. So we're going to be taking a few excerpts out of there. And we're going to go over just a few scriptures that talks about separation. Like, you've heard them here in the ISUPK classes before. These scriptures ain't going to be earth-shattering to you, right? Or maybe they will be. Maybe this what we're coloring in this, what we're covering in this book may bring those scriptures to life for you. Because from the perspective of, everybody in this school, it's clear to us. It's clear that there's no way that we can come together with this people and survive and thrive. There's no way possible, right? Why do I say that? Because we die in the streets. We're literally murdered for the world to see. You got other countries looking at America like, America, you can't say nothing to us. You murder black people in the streets. America is a nation of hypocrites. Your oppressor is a hypocrite. Your oppressor is also a greedy bastard. He doesn't give a damn about democracy. What he really wants is to rule your land, take your resources, and destroy everything that you treasure. If it has value, he wants it. Let me get John 10:10 real quick. John 10:10 real quick. Because we're going to get the spirit of this devil. Going to get the spirit of him. You got it? Not yet? Go ahead.
John, the book of John, chapter 10, verse 10.
You got that mic? Is that mic working? Let's get a little mic action going. Yep.
The book of John, chapter 10, verse 10.
Uh-huh.
The thief.
The what?
The thief.
The what?
The thief.
The thief. The thief. Not talking about a thief, talking about the thief. This is a specific nation of people. The thief, go ahead.
Coming not, but for to steal.
Uh-huh.
And to kill.
Uh-huh.
And to destroy.
That's what your oppressor does, man. He comes but to, read it again.
The thief come not, but for to steal.
Man, that's what thieves do. They steal. They come in your country uninvited. They're uninvited in Haiti. And they come in to steal. Go ahead.
And to kill.
And to kill. Has America ever entered anyone's land peacefully? They come to kill.
Right.
It's not a mystery, black man. It's not some complex, trigonometry math equation, Hispanic man.
Right.
There's no rocket science to it, Native American man. There's no rocket science. He comes to kill, to steal, to kill, and to destroy. That's what he comes to do. And it's proven through history. We shouldn't have to teach a class on separation. Black people should inherently know by just looking at history.
Right.
Just looking at the past, you're going to see that this devil has stolen, has killed, and has destroyed everything about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, all the way down to your identity. You don't even call yourself like what you are. Like, how you going to say you Mexican? That's not. It's not a race of people.
Right.
Your identity has been destroyed. You have been killed. Your land has been stolen. That's what the devil comes to do. Go ahead, Quan.
And so, like, when brothers say that, I never been in slavery, so, like you'll hear it from a so-called Issachar all the time. But in the book of Genesis, when we talk about all the tribes that was over there in Egypt, I'm like, man, like it's important that you learn your history. Because we was all over there in all them shit together.
Listen, you may not have served the exact same type of slavery as black people, which I would say that that's not true either. You don't think it was Hispanic slaves?
Right.
You don't think you went on slave ships? You did.
Right.
You don't think you picking that fruit today down on those fields, that ain't slavery? Them is slave wages, brother.
Right.
Slave wages. Go ahead.
It's a lot, it's not even, it might not even be the fruit. It might be the in the poppy fields, getting all them goddamn buds for the marijuana and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Tobacco fields, all that, man.
Damn, man.
You down there working for peanuts. That's not a fair wage for what you do.
Right.
Like, you got to understand, as a Hispanic person, America would not have fruit, or at least the fruit that it has, if your race of people wasn't there collecting it. Listen, as Esau to get down there and pick them strawberries. We ain't gonna have no strawberries. Listen, you be lucky to get him to pick trees. That's because it's up high. He ain't got to bend down. Let him have to bend down for some fruit, man. You ain't getting that fruit. Esau ain't doing it. Matter of fact, a pack of strawberries, instead of $2.50, you be paying $10, $12, $20 for strawberries.
Right.
If Esau had to pick it, because them wages had to go up. I'm digressing. Any questions online? Anybody got any questions online? You got any questions in the room before we kind of get into some of this separation?
It's like this is kind of real quick. No, my friend, this question. Trooper Bazaar. It was like the Clintons stole gold from Haiti, right? Question mark.
So I don't know if they specifically stole gold, but I know that they stole a bunch of resources from over there. They had some amount of money that they were given to restore Haiti, right? They were given they were in charge, or they gathered it. You have to Google it, but it is out there. There were some funds allocated for Haiti, and I say allocated with air quotes, right? Which the money was never supposed to go to our brothers and sisters, the Levites. It was never supposed to go to them. It was always going to go to those slimy bastards, the Clintons, right? But of course, on paper, it was allocated for Haiti, and basically after the Clintons went down there and was supposed to be distributing money and taking care of the people, like, the money is unaccounted for. So yeah, you can research that. I don't know if it was gold. But I do know that there was something allocated, resources, money-wise, allocated for Haiti. And obviously the people of Haiti are still living in utter poverty. So they did not receive at least what they were supposed to receive. I can't say that they didn't receive any, right? They probably greased the pockets of a few politicians, and that was it. Right. But you can definitely Google that. Anything else on that?
I wore the terrible.
Who?
I wore.
I wore. Oh, listen, why can't you just be I wore? You always gotta throw some extra on there. Right? I wore the terrible. So what's his question, man? I'm probably gonna skip his question. What he said?
He said, so like, can a man leave his wife if she is a unbeliever?
Man, hell no. You don't even ask me that, I wore. You already know the answer to that. Hell no. Get the scripture. Get the scripture. Save adultery, right? A man can't leave his woman. You already know this. Don't be trying to look for no way out. You ain't got no way out. Ain't no way out. You know what you got to do? You got to do some hard work, brother. Hard labor. That's what you got to do. They had this little song. What's that? Hard work. Hard work. That's what you got to do. Hard work. It's hard work trying to raise a sister. Guess what else? It's hard work trying to raise a kid. You raise them like they need to be raised. I already know you got to go to war. And of course, some brothers, man, you just got to learn the way to war. Right? You got to learn the way to war. But, sisters, especially sisters who, are breadwinners, they'll make brothers feel, unmasculine, or they're, emasculate a man to the point to where, like, I didn't want to be with you. You so damn evil. That's the unfortunate part is that's still your woman. Now, does that mean that you have to live with her? Does that mean you have to, be up under her all the time? Does that mean you have to take her crap? No, you don't. Go to war with that woman. Tell her, don't even think about talking to me like I'm not a man. And then you want to go to the Bible, right? Because the Bible is really the guideline. According to the world, right? You could run up on a sister and say, yeah, I'm a man. You got to respect me. And some sisters will. And that worked for some people. But some sisters, it don't matter what you say, right? As far as worldly things. But I notice women are cut by the Bible. Pull you some Bible scriptures. A woman is clamorous. She knows nothing. A wicked woman is clamorous. She knows nothing. Read some scriptures of a virtuous woman, right? A woman who obeyed her husband. Hit her over the head with just Bible scriptures after Bible scriptures, and let her know you're not living like Sarah lived. She gonna turn around and be like, hey, you ain't no Abraham neither. No, man. Sometimes you gotta blaze on the sister to let her know. Like, I'm not the one. You must think that you're dealing with somebody in the world. I'm not a nigga from the world. I'm a priest of the Lord. You better respect me, because the Lord is looking at the way, right? The Lord is looking at the way that you talk to your husband, and he does not approve. He doesn't approve of you emasculating a man. He doesn't approve of you trying to gain authority or usurp authority over a man. He does not approve of it. You understand? And so you women will be punished for that. If you treat your man like nothing because you make more money than him, or like you just got a nasty attitude, the Lord sees it. Don't think that he doesn't. That's right. And when judgment happens in your life, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised when things start to go wrong in your life because of the way that you're treating your husband. Keep that in mind. Same thing for you brothers, right? Christ said, love your woman like he loves the church. Like, if you treat your woman like, a piece of garbage, that ain't what the Lord prescribed. Right? He said, love your woman like you love the church, like he loved the church. And Christ loved us a whole lot. You understand? He was willing to make that sacrifice for us. Go ahead. So like this is use the mic. So like and it's like before, like a lot of times we provoke our woman. Like, what I'm saying? Like I learned from the men above you, not always give a hardcore answer. Right. So sometimes you gotta milk them and give them a soft answer. Damn right. Listen, and I think brothers, one thing to keep in mind too, because you have authority over your woman, you are responsible for her well-being. Why do I say that? Because if you're over men in the school, do you think that you can just talk to brothers in the school any kind of way and treat them any kind of way because you rule over them? You're going to be in a council trying to explain why you talk to this brother like he was nothing. Like, you got to keep in mind, this is your brother inside the school, even if you rank over him. Same thing for your ribs. Even though you are over her in rank, right, and you're responsible for her and you rule over her, that's still your sister, right? You wouldn't want, your mom getting punched in the face or talked to like she was, some kind of, like she was nothing. Right. Now, don't confuse the two. Sometimes you got to check your woman. But does that mean you always have to come down on her like a ton of bricks? No. because you don't like that. You don't like when you do something wrong, a brother always come down on you like a ton of bricks. Like basically, it comes with seasoning. You want to know how to respond to certain things, right? Certain things you might go over the top. You spend what? You spend what? It's damn fire coming out the top of your head. Other things, maybe she, bumped your car or something, put a dent in it. It's like, all right, no sweat, baby. We get it worked out. Just be careful, slow down. That sale will be on next week. You'll get to the sale, slow down. Spending all the goddamn money. But you get my point. So no, let's get to the scripture. Go ahead.
Also, I want Officer Kamal's online too.
Most of them.
But I got the scripture I want. Matthew chapter 19, verse 9. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication.
Except it be for what?
Fornication.
Fornication being unlawful sex. What is unlawful sex? Homosexuality,
right?
Bestiality,
right?
Adultery, right? That's unlawful sex. Go ahead.
And shall marry another, committed adultery.
You commit adultery, right? You can't put that woman away unless there's some type of fornication involved. It doesn't matter if she doesn't believe, right? It doesn't matter if she believes that there are green men that live on Mars and visit her at night. It don't matter if she, if she just all out wicked. Now, again, there's steps that you can take in between, and I would recommend anybody to call and get counseling on these things. Continue to get counseling. Reach out to your camp leader, and of course, if you need more counseling on top of that, then you can, you have access to more brothers inside the school. But there's nothing you can do to leave your woman save fornication. Again, there's steps that you can take to help improve. You can get counseling, you get marriage counseling. And if your rib is willing, even though she's not in the school, she can get counseling or speak to some of the men in the school to get, to see what she's doing wrong, if that's something that, she decided to do. And y'all can work on your relationship. And so it's hard work. It's hard work. Even a good marriage is hard work. Right? Even a good marriage is hard work because you have to maintain it. If you don't maintain it, you just ain't gonna ride off how you felt, 10 years ago. No, you gotta constantly renew that relationship, constantly build up, admiration for one another. Gotta treat each other kind, go on dates, all those things. And of course, if your rib is out of order, then you gotta go to work on that. You gotta let her know where you stand on things. So hopefully that answers your question. You cannot leave a woman if she doesn't believe. Of course, at one point you didn't believe. There's very few people that are born into the truth. Of course, we have, quite a few of them in the school. But I wasn't born into the truth, right? And then when I believed, I couldn't put away my rib because she didn't believe. That would have been an epic fail because she's a wonderful sister in the school now. You understand? But at one point she didn't believe and gave me all kind of hell. All right. Any more questions? Good. Who's that? Come on, you say something?
Con. I was asking, so why does it use fornication and adultery? Like, is it not it's the same thing?
No,
I know it's a difference, but
yes.
I forgot what's the.
So fornication is in general, right? Fornication is unlawful sex. You have different kinds of fornication. You have bestiality, right? If a man or a woman sleeps with a beast, that's fornication. You can have homosexuality. If a man sleeps with a man or a woman sleeps with a woman, that's fornication. Or you can have adultery, when a woman sleeps with a man that's not hers, or a man sleeps with a woman that's not his, right? That's fornication in the form of adultery. You understand?
We got the 2 out of 1.
Who that?
Barzal.
Barzal, Most High in Christ. All right. So does that answer your question? Come on.
Con.
Most High in Christ. All right. Any more?
Kind of one. Barzal had a question. It was can I get a scripture on to show what mountains, hills, and heavens referring to governments and or rulership?
Oh man, you trying to stump me, Barzal. Let me dig into my precept book, because that ain't one that I pull often. I just know the breakdown that it does mean governments, but let me see if I can find the precept book.
Slacky.
Barzal trying to stump me. Go ahead, you was gonna say something?
Slacky. No, I ain't trying to stump you. I don't want to slack you.
Yeah,
it's just
that's what's happening.
Slacky. I was cutting my brother this weekend past on the Lucifer and being cast down from heaven, and I wanted to go a little more in depth on him, but I cut him enough. Slacky.
All right, let me see if this the one I'm looking for.
I'm gonna mute my mic. I don't want to slack.
That's not the one I'm looking for. You might have got me, because I don't know if I got that one in my precept book.
So, like you said the one where he came down from the mountains?
No. Barzal, I owe you that one, because I have a couple of precepts that talks about hills and mountains, but I don't have the one where it says that hills and mountains are governments. I can't think of it either. So Salaki, I owe that. You can get it from me through the week, or I can bring it back next Wednesday. Just let me know. Either way, I'm gonna have it for you.
Tawakal. The water.
Barzal got me. What he got? Go ahead.
Said, scripture to prove that the the Yike man, the oppressor, is the devil the Bible speaks of. If someone wanted it to be proven.
Like, just so I understand the question, precepts that, okay, yeah, you want to start with is this the man? That's a good one. Yeah, you know that one. Hold on one second. Is this the man that made the nations to tremble? Made the earth to tremble? Let's start with that one. Isaiah 14 and 16.
Slacky.
Go ahead.
That's the one I brought out for my brother. I did the little breakdown when for context go up to 21 and they get to talking about prepare slaughter, all that.
Yeah, so that's true, but he's talking about like the man part of it though.
The man.
Yeah. Kwame, take me to Isaiah 14, but start at 12.
Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven? O Lucifer, son of the morning.
Right. So of course, when Christians read this, they think that the angel, right, angel Satan, right, was in heaven, battle with the Most High. You can mute his. Battle with the Most High, right, and then was kicked out of heaven, went down and ruled hell, and God is just fine with that. No, nothing can stand against God. You understand? Nobody, nothing at all can stand against the Most High. So, and angels cannot rebel, right? You learn that from the scriptures because angels, they just go and do. They don't, they don't say, they don't have an attitude, like your woman and roll their neck. No, that's not what angels do. Angels follow orders, right? So that's what the Christian church teaches, is that this is talking about, the angel Satan, as old Lucifer, son of the morning. Old Lucifer, son of the morning, just means this person is shining bright. This person is on top. It's like saying, it's calling somebody a star. Like, you're not a physical star in the sky, but you're shining, right? People look up to you. Same way this person is on the top, shining bright, high above everybody. Go ahead.
Come. How art thou cut down to the ground? Which did weaken the nations.
Man, how you come down so low? When I think of this scripture, I think of that 50 Cent song where it be like, damn, homie, in high school you was the man, homie. What the F happened to you? This is talking about the oppressor, right? It said he did is weaken the nations, like meaning he went and destroyed nations and subdued nations. And now he's in, whatever he wants to do, he pretty much does it. That's the oppressor. This is talking about the oppressor who rules over blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and really all over the world. Go ahead.
Verse 13. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God.
Right. So the scriptures is talking about him and his prowess, right? Everything, I'm gonna come to you. Everything he wants to do, right? He looks at himself as God. Like he doesn't. That's why he doesn't feel guilty for doing the things that he does to the Lord's chosen people. Like he looks at himself as God. He doesn't give a damn about, killing you in the streets. He doesn't give a damn about you being poor or having, poor health or poor education, none of that. Because he looks at himself as higher than God and said that he's going to descend above the clouds, right? He's going to make his nest in heaven, like Obadiah said. Go ahead. No, go ahead with the scripture.
I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation.
What's the mount of the congregation?
Is it talking about, how they say that holy mountain? Would it say like when they put their image as Jesus Christ? Would they be talking like that? How they paint, cover their faces?
Not exactly. No, okay. but the concept is damn near the same. They're going to sit on the mount. When you sit on the mount, you're on top of something. What's the congregation? You children of Israel. You're the congregation. They're going to sit on top of us. Is what the scripture is saying is their mindset. They're going to sit on the mount of the congregation. They're going to rule over you, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Go ahead.
And the sides of the north.
Go ahead.
Verse 14. I will ascend above the height of the clouds. I will be like the Most High.
Read it again.
I will ascend above.
No, I will be like the Most High.
I will be like the Most High.
Right. That's how he look. He looks at himself like he is God. He decides when you live, if you live, when you eat, how much you eat. Where you live. We're gonna find out today how cruel they were with, relegating us to specific places to live. Like, he's in charge of our life here in America and around the world. You Israelites, if you don't know by now, the oppressor is your slave master. And he said, I will be like the Most High. Go ahead.
Come.
15.
Verse 15. yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit.
Right. So again, this is more Christian dogma. Christians read this and they say, see, Saint he's going back to hell. He's going into the pit. That's not what that's talking about. Hell is a condition on earth. Heaven and hell are conditions. They're not places. There's not a hell under the ground. You're not going to die and go under the ground, and Satan's going to be there poking you, like with his pitchfork, and you burn it up. That's not, no. This is hell. Living in the ghetto, being high off drugs, out of your goddamn mind, that's hell. Being raised in a house where your stepdad molests you and your mom is a crackhead, that's hell. Being utterly poor to the point where you don't know where your meal's coming from. If you don't go to school, you starve. That's hell. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans live in hell. If you in a cage right now on the border, you in hell. If you on that reservation where only 30%, where 30% of them don't have running water, you are in hell. Go ahead.
Verse 16. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee.
What does that mean? Anybody online can answer it too. What does that mean to narrowly look upon somebody? Go ahead.
Is to look at him like he's great?
No.
Then Salaki, if we could. And it looks like to look down on him. That's how we should look at him.
Well, it ain't really even at this point. Yeah, it's kind of like looking down, but it's a little bit more than that in the sense that, like, again, I always reference the 50 Cent song when I think about this scripture, because it's like, damn, homie, in high school, you was the man, homie.
Right,
what happened to you? Like, you gonna nearly look upon him like, man, I can't believe this. Like, no. No, I'm good. Right? To narrowly look upon somebody is almost like in disbelief. You know what I mean? And that's why it's saying, those that see you shall narrowly look upon thee, like they can't believe it. It's like disbelief. Keep going.
And consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble?
This is 50 Cent all the way, man. You can't tell me the Bible ain't a black man's book. They're like, man, is this the man that made the earth to tremble? This guy?
Right.
Like, they're going to be in a status where, like, you're not going to believe it, right? Now, of course, you see them in action. You see them ruling America. You see their cruelty. You see how rich they are. You see their power. You see their military might. So now it's totally believable, right? Like, man, this is the man. He makes the earth tremble. If he wants to he'll go drop a bomb over in Japan, and those people, like Dave Chappelle said, will draw Hello Kitty from now on. All that masculinity is wiped out. You understand? Japan didn't want no more smoke. He made the earth to tremble, like with his prowess and military might and riches and wickedness and evil. But when you see him, when this time comes, you're gonna look upon him and be like, this can't be the same guy. He's gonna be in a state where he has no power, no authority, no riches, and would dare raise the hand to the children of Israel. Wouldn't dare. That's why you're gonna narrowly look upon him, because you're gonna be in disbelief of his status. He's gonna be low. That's why it says, the scriptures say, come down and sit in the dust, O daughter of Babylon. Sitting in the dust means being in a low state. Your oppressor is going to be in a very low state. He's going to be in a lower state than you are, black man. That's why the scriptures also say, reward her double. Pay her back double as she has paid us. Whatever she paid us, double it. 400 years of captivity, 800. Kill us in the street by the hundreds, kill them in the streets by the thousands. You understand? Whatever cruelty they did to us, they're going to receive it double. Any more?
That did shake kingdom.
Is this the man that did shake kingdoms. You're gonna be in utter belief. I remember when I was a trooper. I was coming into the school. Catch me walk by. I said, "You're gonna be walking through a museum, right, with your great grandson." And he was like, "Daddy, who is that? Who is that, grandfather?" He's like, "Oh man, this cat right here. He used to rule the earth. He used to destroy everything. He was damn near unstoppable, right? He owned almost everything, destroyed almost everything, killed us, murdered us. Your grandson is gonna be like, I don't believe you. You're joking with me." Like, yeah, this was the man. Because of course, you know from Obadiah that Esau, there is no redemption for Esau. Esau will eventually fade away. There will be, you will have to go to a museum to see your oppressor. They won't walk the earth. There'll be a point in time where they won't walk the earth. And you can find that in Obadiah. Go ahead, Quan.
So would this be the precept for Lucifer or the oppressor or both?
What you mean?
Brother Warrior asked about that.
Who?
Goes on.
No, well, okay, so you got to understand that Lucifer is not a name of a person. It's like a title. Damn near. Right. Well, I guess it's a name too. The point is this: Lucifer is not talking about Satan. That's not Satan. Satan is named as Shaitan in the Hebrew, right? Satan is an angel, but he does what the Lord tells him to do. So he's not going to be rebellious. That's why the scriptures say, "Is this the man?" It didn't say that, "Is this the angel?" It's saying, "Is this the man?" Right? You get what I'm saying, Quan? It's saying, "Is this the man?" So this is talking about a man, a person. It's not talking about, a spirit or an angel or anything like that. All right, so that's it on that. Hopefully, that's one precept that you can use. There's many more precepts regarding Esau being the devil. Of course, you can use the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Right? Who's in charge of the earth right now? Let's see. I'll get you one more. Go ahead.
You can just do it by their crimes. The same crime that they're
and of course you can. But he was asking for biblical scriptures. But anybody at this point in time that don't believe, the oppressor is the devil is like, man, you I don't know what to tell you. All you had to do is open your eyes.
Right.
Let me give you one more. Revelations 12:9.
You want me to go to it?
Yeah, let's get it real fast. We won't spend too much time on it. Man, it's already 7:56.
The book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent.
That old serpent, that's the key right there. That old serpent being the snake from the garden, the spirit of that same man, that same person, that's the spirit of your oppressor. Has that same spirit, the same slithers around, a backstabber, a real, like a rat. Is equivalent to like a rat. But of course, when you talk about somebody in the streets that's a snake or a rat, they just somebody you just can't trust. Whatever they say is a lie. You can't trust them at all. Go ahead.
Called the devil.
Called the devil or the deceiver. Go ahead.
And Satan.
Right. Of course, Satan specifically is the angel, but this ain't talking about him specifically. They're just saying like he's like Satan. Go ahead.
All right. Tell God. Which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the earth.
So of course Christians take this and run with this and say, see, Satan lives. He was cast out of heaven. Satan wasn't cast out of heaven. You can read in Job, the first chapter, how Satan reported to the Most High in a council. And the Most High was like, "Where you been?" He's like, going to and fro from the earth, trying to see who I can try. He had to give a report. He had to go to a monthly council. He a major council reporting. You understand? So Satan does report to the Most High. There's no question about it. You can find it in the scriptures. Go ahead.
He And his angels were cast out with him.
And so, of course, they think the devil is talking about physical angels, but angels don't buck up. They go where they told to go. Like this is talking about, man, I don't want to get jumped up on. I think this is Israelites is talking about, if I remember the breakdown properly. Like the Israelites, like your Christian pastors and your black politicians. Those people are the people that supposed to like be in charge. But guess what? The deceiver took them along with him, and they was all cast out too. Right. Yeah, that's the proper breakdown. I remember. So those are three good ones that you can use. Of course, there's more. I got a whole precept book of the oppressor being the devil. So just get with me afterward, Mark Wine, and I can give you these. I didn't think brothers still needed precepts on the oppressor being the devil. I would have thought you would have heard all those.
But I don't know. I don't know, but that's my life from cat though,
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, so let's get into this book a little bit. Unless there's any more questions.
Live one.
All right, most I'm praise. I'm just gonna keep it because it's easier for me because I got some highlighted and then I got maybe a little that ain't highlighted that I might read. All right. So this is, again, we already talked about this. It's called The Color of Law. I covered a little bit of this a while back, but I picked it back up and started reading chapter 2, man. And chapter 2 is ridiculous. Right, and it talks about the evil of what these oppressors did, right, with segregation. And of course, you don't necessarily want to be forced to segregate. When I say that, it's like you don't want to be forced by your oppressor to segregate because he's going to give you the bottom of everything. Like there's only so many resources you have. And so if he says that he's segregating housing, right, you're going to get the worst of the housing. It's better to self-segregate. And that way you can build things the way you want them. Like it was a group of black people, if I remember correctly, it was 90 black people in Arizona, some city in Arizona. They bought, a couple hundred acres and they started building a housing community out there. And me, I got on there, right? I'm battling with all these Edomites on there. My fingers is, pecking away. But the oppressor was mad. I was like, well, isn't this reverse racism? Isn't this, just as racist as everything else? And it's like, they don't want you to have anything. If you choose to self-segregate, you're going to anger your oppressor. Ain't that something? First, they don't want you in their neighborhoods. Right. Then when you decide to buy you some acres and set you up some land and build you houses, then they get upset at that too. There's no pleasing this oppressor. He hates you. Right. He hates you. You might think that Becky at work likes you. Becky deals with you. Becky might even consider you somewhat of a friend, but at the end of the day, Becky's gonna choose her people. She's not gonna choose you. All right. So this is chapter 2, and in the book, the chapter is talking about public housing, black ghettos, right? And I'm gonna start down a little bit. It says the purposeful use of public housing by federal and local governments to herd African Americans into urban ghettos had as big an influence as any in the creation of our de jure system of segregation, right? It says, most Americans have an image of public housing, groups of high-rise towers with few amenities like playgrounds or parks, packed next to one another in central city neighborhoods, plagued by crime and drugs and filled with black or Hispanic mothers and their children. Yet that it didn't say black or Hispanic, mothers and fathers. It said black Hispanic mothers. Right. It is a mostly inaccurate image even today, but it couldn't be further from the reality. It couldn't be further from the reality of public housing when it began in the mid 20th century. At the time, public housing was mostly for working and lower middle class white families. It was not heavily subsidized, meaning like the government or the city or the state didn't help fund it, right? And tenants paid the full cost of operations with their rent. Public housing original purpose was to give shelter not to those too poor to afford it, but to those who could afford decent housing but couldn't find it because none was available. All right. So we're gonna get a little bit more, and then we're gonna get a couple scriptures on segregation, because as I read this, and I'm gonna jump around just a little bit, but as I read this, you're gonna be like, man, this is crazy. It says in New York City, for example, from World War II to 1955, the Housing Authority constructed 20 large, unsubsidized projects for middle-class families, all of whom paid rent that covered the housing costs. Many projects were attractive, low-rise, six-story developments with trees, grassy areas, and park benches. In addition to giving priority to veterans, right, here come the wicked part. In addition to giving priority to veterans, the authority maintained a list of 21 disqualifying factors for prospective tenants, including irregular employment history, meaning if you couldn't maintain a job or you had kind of like a spotty track record for employment, you'd be disqualified, right? Knowing at the time, like it was tough to get a job for black people, right? Single parent family. So if you was a single parent family, like for whatever reason, it was tough for you to get housing, or an out of wedlock birth. Like you know how black people, black people don't be waiting around for that paper, right? And neither do your oppressor. They try to paint this picture like they also, they all wait till they get married. Nah. But if you had an out of wedlock birth, a criminal record, narcotic addiction, mental illness, poorly behaved children, poor housekeeping habits, lack of sufficient furniture. Meaning if you didn't have a damn enough furniture, you might not even qualify to get, to live in the projects. And during this time, right, and it's going to get into it a little bit later, it talks about how difficult it was to get housing because there was a housing shortage because of the war, right? World War II, like it is going to talk about how most of the building material was prioritized for, building weapons or, whatever was needed to fund the war or take care of things needed for the war, right? So to ensure that undesirable tenants were not accepted, the Housing Authority sent agents to inspect the condition in which applicants kept their previous homes, often shared with relatives. Couples had to show a marriage license before the application was accepted. The Boston Housing Authority had similar requirements for its middle-class projects for white families. Now, I find it hard to believe that, of course, in anything, your oppressor counterparts will not be judged as harshly as you when trying to qualify for housing. You know what he's gonna say? Oh, Ted, it's okay. I know your son. He's a little, he's a little wild, but he's a good boy. Right. Come on in. But Leroy, he got them badass boys. He gonna have to go somewhere else. Right. He ain't letting Leroy rent that apartment or get in that housing project, even though Leroy was able to pay full price. All right. It says the federal government first developed housing for civilian living quarters on military bases had long been in existence during World War I when it built residence for defense workers near naval shipyards and munition plants. 83 projects in 26 states housed 170,000 white workers and their families. African Americans were excluded even from projects in northern and western industrial centers where they worked in significant numbers. So even though I work over here in this area, I couldn't get housing over there. I'm excluded from the housing projects. Federal policy sometimes imposed racial segregation where it hadn't previously been established, forcing African Americans into overpopulated slums. And this is how it began. This is how it began. You were forced into overpopulated slums. Now, just take the example of something being overpopulated. What happens in, say, an overpopulated class? Quan, just give me a few examples.
It's a lot. You're gonna get the fighting, and it's just
hold on. You're gonna get, it's gonna be you're in closer proximity, so there's gonna be fighting. What else?
It's gonna be, like, it ain't gonna be no place. like.
Just think about it. You in class, and instead of 20 to 25 people in the class, you got 50 to 60 people in the class. What are the things that happen? You said fighting.
So like you ain't gonna have a place to house all these people. Or do you?
Well, now we're talking about a class specifically. So, like this, right? You're not gonna have enough resources for everybody, right? You're not gonna have enough, desks. In this example, we're talking about a classroom, desks, pencils, books, all these things, right? What else?
Not everybody's gonna even get the same education.
Not everybody's going to get the same quality of education. When you flip it over to houses, you're not going to get the same quality of living, right? There's only so many resources. You're in a slum. All you have to do is compare it to a classroom. In a classroom, man, inherently somebody's going to get left behind. Somebody's not going to have what they need. Somebody's going to be a disruption. There's always people who are going to cause disruptions, right? There's always going to be people in the hood that just want trouble. It's like that. And so when these people are all in close proximity, it's like, okay, there's going to be things that don't happen if you were spread out a little further. If you had just a little bit more room, if you had just a little bit more resources, right? Then the person who was in charge could focus on people easier. But when you all, cramped in there together, it's like they don't know what's going on, right? It says 83 projects. Oh, no, I already read it. African Americans were excluded even from projects in northern and western industrial centers where they worked in significant numbers. Federal policy sometimes imposed racial segregation where it hadn't previously been established, forcing African Americans into overpopulated slums. When the war ended, the government sold off its existing projects to private real estate firms and canceled those that were not complete. Beginning with the Great Depression of the 1930s and into the early 1950s, working and middle class whites, as well as African American families, faced a serious housing shortage. So there's already a housing shortage around this time. Now, keep in mind the things that you may say, well, that was in the 1930s through the 1950s. Think about how old some of the houses are now. And thinking about like your grandmother's generation and how they sometimes even pass houses down to people in the family. Like housing, you talk to almost anybody in the financial realm, and they'll tell you that owning a house or owning property is the cornerstone of building wealth. Generational wealth is the cornerstone. Many financial experts will still say that it's the cornerstone of building generational wealth. Because what can you do with a house? You can, you'll have a place to live for sure, but you can also build up equity. What can you do with equity? You can pull some of that equity out and you can go buy another home, or you can finance a kid's education. Or, if the car breaks down, you can pull that equity out and get a reliable vehicle so you can get back and forth to work. So it allows you to do several things that if you don't have a house, you cannot pull equity out of it. If your car breaks down, you better hope that Larry from next door can take you, because you call off from that job too many times, you're going to be fired. And then what? Then you're going to be kicked out of your apartment. Then you're homeless. It's a whole trickle down effect in America, where in Israel it was not meant to be like this. You had an inheritance in Israel. You had an inheritance. That's why the children of Israel divided up the lands according to tribes. And that was your inheritance. Everybody got a piece of the pie. Let me get in Genesis. This is scripture I want to read in Genesis, right, where it talks about the Most High divided the nations. Find me that one. The Most High divided the nations, because every nation, right, had an inheritance. Esau, right? Esau had something. He was caucus in and out. Ishmael had his, Moab had his, Ham had his. The Most High divided the nations. And so you were never meant to come together and live under this oppressor, right? Especially during this time, because it's like now there's a housing shortage. So who's going to get the short end of the stick? It's going to be you, black man. And it is you today. Nothing has changed about your condition in America. You always get, the bottom. That's why the scripture saying in Deuteronomy, the heathen among you will rise very high above you, and you'll come down very low. That's why you see these Moabites, they come over, or Ammonites, they come over. Even the Hamites come over and get higher than you over here. Imagine that. Go ahead.
So like that, I'm getting Deuteronomy.
What's that?
I'm getting Deuteronomy.
What'd I say?
You said Genesis.
Oh, go ahead.
Come.
You might have the wrong one, but go ahead. Tell me what it said.
Come. Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 8. When the Most High divided to their nation, to the nations, their inheritance.
That's the right one. Go ahead. Their what?
Their inheritance. When he separated these sons.
When he did what?
When he separated these sons of Adam.
So you trying to tell me the Most High separated somebody? Are you reading that right?
When he separated the sons of Adam.
The Most High separated the sons of Adam, who were the chosen people at the time. Adam was the first man, not because he was the first man that walked the face of the earth. He was the first man that the Most High breathed the breath of life into. Right? Meaning Adam was given the truth. Adam was taught how to live. He was taught what to eat, who to have sex with, how to treat your brother, all these things, right? Adam was given how to sacrifice. And guess what? Then it was the sons of Adam. And who's one of those sons of Adam? Noah. And then guess what? Noah and his family repopulated the earth. That's why we all come from Adam. And from there, it went down to Abraham. And Abraham received the covenant of the Most High. And then to Isaac, and then to Jacob. And the Lord's chosen people that walk the face of the earth today are the Israelites, who he has established a covenant with forever. Right? But the Most High, he divided the nations. Read it again from the top.
When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance.
Their inheritance, man. Your inheritance is Israel. Not that little sliver of land that's over there now in the Middle East, in the so-called Middle East. Not that little sliver of land, but you can go and read about the different land masses that the Israelites took and the borders, right? A lot of that over there is Israel. Maybe I can't say all, right? But way more, much more than the little sliver of land that's Israel today, right? He divided the nations their inheritance. Every nation has their own inheritance. And that land over there is ours. And so the Most High, read this next part.
Come. When he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people.
He set the boundaries, man. He said, listen, this is yours. Boom, you stay here. This is yours. You stay here. And of course, you blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, because you sinned against the Lord, guess what happened? You went into captivity, and now you're integrated with the people who want to destroy you. If you don't think that these people want to destroy you, you have to wake up and smell the coffee, man. Every underhanded tactic that they can use, they use it. What you read this book, it tells you how they, let's just keep going. All right. That was it on that, right?
Well,
go ahead.
According to the number of the children of Israel.
Oh man, that's it right there. I missed that. According to us. All right, so let's get back to this. It says, in the Depression, only the affluent could afford to purchase homes or rent new apartments, so builders couldn't be induced to provide housing for others. World War II exacerbated the shortage because all construction material was appropriated for military purposes. Working and lower middle class families doubled up with relatives, stayed in apartments that were too small for their growing families, or remained in emergency Quonset. I don't know what those are. Quonset huts that had been put up toward the end of the war for returning veterans. I just know it's a hut. I don't know why it's called Quonset. Had to look that one up. I know it ain't a damn house or an apartment. You was living in damn near a tent. In response, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, New Deal created the nation's first public housing for civilians who were not engaged in defense work. Race determined the program's design. The administration constructed separate projects for African Americans, segregated buildings by race, or excluded African Americans entirely from the developments. Right? That's why families lived together during this time. That's why aunties and uncles and cousins and grandmothers and grandfathers all stayed in small apartments or small houses, right? Which of course for us during that time builded great communities because we knew who the devil was, we knew who the enemy was. But now, because you can live amongst these heathens, you don't feel as connected to your people. You feel like you ascended to something greater and bigger because you can live in the suburbs, right? You think because you got a high paying job that now you're part of American society. And that's a facade, man. That's a facade. That's something that you should not believe, because in the end, these people don't even want you in their neighborhoods. How many videos you got to see online where some cracker tells you you're in the wrong neighborhood, MFer? Can you imagine that? Because, man, if it wasn't for Commander Gianna in this school, man, listen, some of you oppressors would really get what's coming to you. You would really understand how reckless your mouth is because you got a nation behind you, because you got the police behind you. But some of you, as you can see, have written checks that your behind can't cash. Your mouth and written check that your behind can't cash. But these oppressors, they don't want you in the neighborhoods. It's evident here. That's why do you think there's such a wealth gap in America? Because oppressor Americans, they were given the opportunity to own houses. Your parents wasn't. They had to struggle and fight and claw and everything else to own a house. And if you was lucky enough to get a house passed to you, which I was not, my father was not, his father was not to my knowledge. Actually, I take that back. I think my grandfather, when my great grandmother passed, my grandfather could have got her house, but it was literally, I went down there when I was 11 or 12, maybe 13. It was a tin roof on the house. It just got indoor plumbing maybe 10 years before that, something like that. Had an outhouse. My father told me he grew up when he visited his grandmother. There was an outhouse down in Arkansas. And he said there was a hog back there. He used to have to go out there at night, and that hog used to scare the crap out of him. And when I went to her house, she had this, I'm not lying about this. She had one of those things that you see on cartoon. It's like a canister with a pump. You had to spray the whole house, fumigated, to kill all the mosquitoes in there. I mean, it was like a real shack down there. And that's where my great grandmother lived, down in Arkansas, and in a shack with a tin roof. Go ahead.
So lucky, I didn't know you said Arkansas.
Yeah.
Lucky, so lucky. I was just passing through, I was Rupert,
Yeah.
I had to go to Arkansas.
Yeah.
It was the worst place I ever been.
Really?
So lucky, all the mosquitoes in our hotel. I'm in a hotel. I'm like, God damn. Hey, I could not sleep by the way.
Yeah, listen. Oh my God. Hey, listen, it's so hot down there. Now, I will say, I've been to Mississippi, and I would rather live in Arkansas than I would in Mississippi. Mississippi is something different. So anyway, but the point is this: like, if you was lucky enough to get a house passed to you, then it was damn near a miracle, because most black people that I know, just say my own personal experience, I don't know, maybe a person or two that was passed a house, maybe. But when I talk to black people, even Hispanics, a few Hispanics that I do know, like personally, they wouldn't pass no house. Talk to your oppressor. Like, I know a ton of oppressors whose parents paid for their college. How did they pay for that? If they didn't have a super slamming job or a high paying job, they could take the equity out of their home. That was probably passed to them. So you get where I'm going with this. There's a lot more opportunities that open up when you own a home. Let's keep going. Actually, I'm gonna jump down some. Okay. No, I wanted to go back there. It's so large. It says, segregation in the administration housing programs followed a pattern that was established by New Deal construction, employment, and job agencies. An early initiative was the Tennessee Valley Authority, created in 1933 to bring jobs and economic growth to a region whose suffering during the Depression had been unusually severe. In North Tennessee, where the TVA was headquartered, the government developed a model village with 500 comfortable homes leased to employees and construction workers. The village, though, was open only to whites, while the TVA houses African American workers in shoddy barracks some distance away. So the brothers that was working on there, right? Of course, you're gonna have brothers working and blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans working on these construction sites because we're gonna work the hardest and get paid, the least amount of money. They wouldn't even allow them to live near the housing developments that they were working on. They had to get shoddy barracks, right? It says other New Deal agencies shared this commitment to residential segregation. The Civilian Corporation Corps established work camps for jobless youth and young adults. These camps were segregated not just in the South, but often in the North as well. In New Jersey, for example, Governor Harold Hoffman refused to allow any camps for African American court members because of what he termed local resentment, right? What is that local resentment? That local resentment is these other oppressors seeing you living in the same vicinity as them, in the same neighborhood as them. They don't want you there. They've never wanted you in their neighborhoods, right? It's still the same today. Get in the neighborhood where people pay just a little bit of money for their house. Like the most recent video, of course, was on that military or by that military base. And that oppressor pushed that brother and was like, "You're in the wrong neighborhood, MF." That's 2021. 2021. And your oppressor is still telling you you're in the wrong neighborhood. It's not just that neighborhood, it's all over the country. All over the country. Let me get First Edges 8 and 85. You need this? Most of the first. First Edges 8 and 85. This is the other scripture that I wanted to pull out regarding segregation. It says, the National CCC Director Robert Feshner implemented a policy never to force colored companies on localities that have openly declared their opposition to them. Initially, local administration integrated some camps in Western and Midwestern states, but federal officials ordered racial segregation in these camps too. Like, racial segregation was ordered. And again, like I said in the beginning of the class, it's better to self-segregate because then you can get yourself together. You can build your own communities. Like I was talking about the people out in Arizona where they bought the land and started building houses out there for a black community. Now, of course, we in ISUPK, we would open it up to a black, Hispanic, and Native American community, right? It's better to self-segregate because if you're forced to segregate, again, you're going to get the worst school systems, the worst healthcare, the worst, neighborhoods, the worst road construction. All these things are going to be terrible, and they're just like, again, they took our Native American brothers and sisters out of the best, the most fertile land, and where they stick them, kind of in the dry, Midwest, in Oklahoma and Montana and these different places where, of course, you down in Florida, you grow damn near anything down there, right? There's a lot more places better and ground more fertile than some of these places over there, in the out west. So to pick somebody up and kick them out of their land, America's been doing that since forever. That's why they say, is this the man that did make the earth to tremble? You're going to look narrowly upon this bastard and say, you ain't nothing now. You used to be the man. You used to be the damn homie. In high school, he was the man. Let me get that scripture.
First Ezra, chapter 8, verse 85. Moreover, these shall never seek to have peace with them.
Listen, it's better to self-segregate. You shouldn't seek to have peace with them. You shouldn't seek to be all, Okay, if you make decent money and you're in a neighborhood, okay, that's cool, but don't look at it like you're doing, something so much better, right? Because you're in this neighborhood. What you should be doing is spending some time to see how you can help build up the ghetto. That's what we do in the ISUPK, man. We seek to build up our people. We seek to build up you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We come in the ghetto. We come in the ghetto. We put our schools in the ghetto. I'm in Chicago this past weekend night. Yeah. That school is in the ghetto. I mean, full of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. They running around, high out their mind, ripping and running up the street, loud music. I mean, what you call that noise population? Like, it's something to be said about. There's always traffic, always niggas out arguing outside your window, always loud music like that. That's pollution, and they've done studies about how that impacts people. Impact people in these hoods and in these ghettos. Like, it's harmful to you over a long period of time. It's like you can see why people don't want to live in big cities, because it's very stressful to live in a big city. Chicago, man, that's one of the worst ghettos. Our people there are destroyed, and so much so they need the ISUPK. Like every day, more and more. You know what I'm saying? I pray the Lord bring a million niggas into the truth, into that school, and help raise it up, because we are in utter poverty and hell in Chicago. But again, low income housing, you're forced into these areas, into the slums, like I said earlier. It hasn't changed. This was back in the 1930s. What did I say, 1930s?
So like the other one?
Like 1930s they started doing this. I'm sure even before that, as soon as black people got to a point where they were growing in population and needed more place to stay.
Right.
Like, this has been going on, man.
Right.
Keep going.
And still like it because the Black Wall Street was in
Tulsa.
21.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably in early 1900s, not the 1800s.
I mean, you were never ready, able to live with your oppressor.
Right.
That's why I say you live with them now and you think that you're doing something big. We know better. We know that living with your oppressor, that's not so much a benefit. Right now, if you got a slavery and, you need to be a little closer, just don't lose sense of the goal, right? Is to build up your people. Don't be so highfalutin that you got a nice big house in a nice nice oppressor's neighborhood, and now that you think you made it, you don't make it until your brothers make it.
Right.
You don't make it until you see blacks and Hispanics come out of the hell that they're in. Like, our work is not complete at all. We have to raise up these cities, man, in these ghettos where we see our brothers and sisters dying and living in this low income housing, and it's terrible, man. It's utter poverty. And nobody should have to live like that. Damn sure not the Lord's chosen people.
Right.
Keep going.
Come. That ye may be strong.
Read it again from the top.
Come. First Ezra, chapter 8, verse 85. Moreover, ye shall never seek to have peace with them.
Right. And that's what we do. We seek to have peace with them. We seek to have peace with them so we can get a piece of what they have. But we should self-segregate. Go ahead.
Come. That ye may be strong.
That we may be what?
That ye may be strong.
Listen, you want to be strong? Don't seek to have peace with them. Don't seek to come together with them. And then you're going to have strength, because you're going to rely on one another. You're not going to have to rely on the government to feed you or to protect you. Let the ISUPK do it, man. We'll do it. Start bringing your tithes in here. We'll do it. Start giving us more access to buildings, helping us get access to buildings, more speakings, getting our name out there. But stop downplaying our videos or canceling our channels. More and more blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans will hear this message, and they will come. And we won't need you. We'll fend for ourselves. We'll build our own nation of people within this rat hole of a nation. Go ahead.
Come. and eat the good things of the land.
That's what you want to do. You want to eat the good things of the land. You don't want to be in Chicago with noise pollution and shooting and gun violence and, eating food that ain't healthy for you. You want to eat the good things of the land. You want to live in green pastures. Now, if you want to live in the city, I know a lot of brothers and sisters love that city life. Me personally, I don't like small cities, but I don't like a real big city either. But I want to eat the good things of the land. And right now, your oppressor gobbles up all the good things of the land and gives you scraps. That's what we get, the scraps. And the few of us that are able to get the good things, they look down on the ones who aren't. Or they think that they've made it and ascended to something different. You're still a nigga, and they'll let you know that any time of the day. Right?
All right.
Any more?
So come.
Go ahead.
And that ye may leave the inheritance of the land unto your children.
Man, that's the key part right there, man. You want to be able to leave an inheritance. Again, we read the scripture earlier. The Most High divided the nations unto their own inheritance. Like in Israel, you had land. Israelites were given land, and then that land went from your parents to you and for you to give to your kids. Well, here in America, it's so wicked because you can own a house, have it fully paid on, and pass it. And if somebody don't pay the taxes, guess what? They take that house back. Right. But I'm paying for the house. How that work? Hey, listen, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Your oppressor is the goddamn devil, man. How you gonna take something that somebody already paid for? That's this country that you put so much faith in that we don't. All right, so any more on that?
Forevermore.
Most High in Christ. All right, so let's get back. We're gonna get a little bit more. Any questions?
Takan out of one. Super Takan. Is there other descriptions of angels besides Satan?
Absolutely. Let's get there real quick, and then we'll try to finish up with the housing. Let's get the one where it talks about describe the angel having 4 faces. Ezekiel 10.
Ezekiel 10, 1.
Let's 10 and 10. Hold on, let's see.
It's like 14.
10 and yeah, let's start at 14.
Ezekiel chapter 10, verse 14. And everyone had 4 faces.
All right, so this is talking about the angels. Go ahead. The angel had 4 faces.
The first face was the face of the cherub. Mm-hmm. And the second face was the face of a man. And the third face of a lion. And the fourth face of an eagle.
Right. Keep going.
Verse 15. And the cherubim were lifted up.
Hey, what did you just read? It's a lot here. Cherubims.
Mm-hmm. Were lifted up. This is the living creature that I saw by the river of Chabar.
All right, so I think we can start a little bit up, but that's the description of what the angels look like. There's a lot of, you'll get several descriptions. Of course, angels can look like men too. Go to the scripture and read about Lot and how Lot had the 2 men, right? 2 angels, right, that looked like men, and they revealed to him that they were about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and so they looked like men. So angels can look like men. They can look like the angels here with 4 faces and eyes all over their wings. You can find several spots where it describes angels. Let me see, maybe if I could get you one more. And Barzal got me today. I gotta find that scripture. Is it? One second. What's the one that I'm looking for? The description. You have to roll with those two for now because I can't think of the other one. But that's, like I said, that's definitely one where they got four faces. Then of course they can look like men. So you can roll with those two. And then I try to, if you shoot me a reminder, I'll see if I can find. I'm thinking of another one, but I can't remember the word of it to kind of. Was that it?
No.
Any, no more?
Wow.
Most impressive. All right. So we're gonna wrap up with this. Okay, it says the PWA, that was the Public Works Administration, designed many integrated neighborhoods as either white or black, and then used public housing to make the designation come true by installing whites only projects in mixed neighborhoods it deemed white and blacks only projects in those it deemed colored. The first PWA project, Techwood Homes in Atlanta, opened in 1935. It was built on land cleared by demolishing the flats, a low-income integrated neighborhood adjacent to downtown that had included 1,600 families, nearly one-third of whom were African American. The PWA remade the neighborhood with 604 units, so they went from 1,600 families down to 604 units for white families only. The Techwood projects not only created a segregated white community, it also intensified the segregation of African American families who, evicted from their homes, could find new housing only by crowding into other neighborhoods where African Americans were already living. Some families evicted from the flats settled in segregated development, also created by federal governments that later opened on the west side. But because public housing was intended not for poor, but for lower middle class families, many of those displaced from the flats that had incomes that were insufficient to qualify. Instead, many had to double up with relatives or rent units created when other African American families subdivided their houses. A result of the government programs, therefore, was the increased population density that turned the African American neighborhoods into slums. You're looking at history right now. You're looking at methodical moves made by your oppressor to destroy you and put you in slums and relegate you to the hood to where there was overpopulation and not enough resources for you. Like, these are the things that happen. So when people say that there's no racism in America, what are you even talking about? This is history here. Like, and this book has a lot more. We didn't even get through, all the highlighted parts that I wanted to. And I may bring this back later, down the line for some other lessons on segregation. But of course, again, like I said, it's a good book so far. I haven't finished the last chapters, but it talks about how we ended up in slums. You ever wanted to know how black neighborhoods became slums? This is one of the ways that it happens. Of course, one other major way, when there was good neighborhoods, you really couldn't tell because the crack epidemic hit, the heroin epidemic hit. Weed is in our neighborhoods, and now you got every pill and everything else destroying our neighborhoods today, and it's just perpetuated. So that's history, black man. That's damn sure history. Anything else, Kwame? No questions online? Most time, guys. Well, we right up on the time. So since there's no more questions, I'm going to pass the class to Priest and Officer Kwame Park.
ISUPK security announcements. We are the ISUPK started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they're off limit for 6 months. They have to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 months period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithe, commandment. Numbers 18 through 21. Malachi 3 8 through 10 means 10th in Hebrew. Maishu. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher, priest fund. Free water for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocation. It's like, we got a feast coming up.
And I keep forgetting the
Okay. So I don't mind the other one.
Hold on, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. So like Israel. One second. Man, I don't got a good signal. Yeah, they had to check the website.
You can either go to the website or in the future we'll let you know what the next high holy day is. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pant, headband, scarf, with that, a mazin, which means to rise.
Hold on, before you do that, let me just. Almost good. Oh, so like. Got it. So we got the memorial of blowing of the trumpets.
The memorial of blowing of the trumpets.
That's September 6th.
September 6th. Wapunga Abudam means to rise. Turn and face east. The Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Abanawu. Shabbat Wadat. Hayat. Sumka. Yahweh. Malakuta. Nabah. Matazayat. Hayat. Aisha. Baratiza. Kawa. Hayat. Ashamayu. Nathan. The Nawu. The Come. Call. Yawam. Wasalakanawu. Kawakanawu. Wasalakanawu. Kawakanawu. Wala. Nabiyanawu. Bonasawan. Abal. Abashayanawu. Mayan. Rad. Hayat. The Cup. Amalaku. Wala. Wadapar. Awalayim. Aman.
Lord's Prayer in English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. In earth. As it is in heaven. Give us this day. Our daily bread. And forgive us our debts. As we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation. But deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom. And the power. And the glory. Forever. So be it.
Kapawu in the Hebrew. Yahweh. Ba'ashim Yahushua. Baba Shah. The Thamanawu. Hakat. Larabah. Kalmakala. Kalmadawa. Hakat. Latahar. Amatazarayim. Hakat. Lahati. Hamati. Akat. Alatuwa. Awakawa. Atamalu. Atamalu. The Garsham. The Garsham. Bashim. Bashim. Yahusha. Yahusha. Duwadaman. Duwadaman. What we just said in English. Yahweh. Yahweh. In the name of Yahushua. In the name of Yahushua. Please give us the power. Please give us the power. The power to heal. The power to heal. All manner of sickness. All manner of sickness. And all manner of disease. And all manner of disease. The power to cleanse the lepers. The power to cleanse the lepers. The power to raise the dead. The power to raise the dead. The power against unclean spirits. The power against unclean spirits. To cast them out. To cast them out. In the name of Yahushua. In the name of Yahushua. Thank you. Thank you. So be it. So be it. Blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh. Why Yahushua? Why Yahushua? Why Yakal? Why Yakal? Walahayan. Walahayan. Azabah. Azabah. Alawak Yahana. Alawak Yahana. Alawakim. Alawakim. Asarayim. Asarayim. Hakatazayim. Hakatazayim. Hakayayim. Hakayayim. Kwakim. Kwakim. Yahweh. Yahweh. Bashim. Bashim. Yahusha. Yahusha. Duwadaman. Duwadaman. What we just said in English. Bless you, Yahweh. Bless you, Yahweh. And Yahushua. And Yahushua. And Michael. And Michael. And the angels. And the angels. Commanding General Yohanan. Commanding General Yohanan. The general. The general. The captain. The captain. The officers. Officers. The troopers. Troopers. And the sisters. And the sisters. Yahweh. Yahweh. In the name of Yahushua. In the name of Yahushua. Thank you. Thank you. So be it. So be it. Knowing prayer in the Hebrew. Yabaraki Yahweh. Yabaraki Yahweh. Washmar. Washmarka. Yah Yahweh. Yah Yahweh. 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 Ayah. Ayah. Wayakanku. Wayakanku. Yesha. Yesha. Yahweh. 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 Ayah. Ayah. Wayasham. Wayasham. Lakat. Lakat. Shalom. Shalom. Yahweh. Yahweh. Bashim Yahusha. Bashim Yahusha. Barak. Barak. Rapat. Rapat. Magun. 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 All of the destroyed of Israel. All the destroyed of Israel. Done. All the destroyed of Israel. All of the destroyed of Israel. Done. Bashim, Bashim, Yahusha, Yahusha, Duwadaman. Duwadaman. What we just said in the English. Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee. And be gracious unto thee. And be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee. And give thee peace. And give thee peace. Yahweh. Yahweh. In the name of Yahushua. In the name of Yahushua. Bless. Bless. Heal. Heal. Shield. Shield. Protect. Protect. ISUPK curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh. Blessed are you, Yahweh. King of heaven and earth. King of heaven and earth. And all things living. And all things living. Yahweh. Yahweh. In the name of Yahushua. In the name of Yahushua. Listen to us now. Listen to us now. Right now. Right now. Send evils and curses. Send evils and curses. And punishment and destruction. And punishment and destruction. To the heathen that speak against us. To the heathen that speak against us. Thy prophet. Thy prophet. The teachers. The teachers. The princes. The princes. The priests. The priests. The Israelite brothers and the schools. The Israelite brothers and the schools. Send evils and curses. Send evils and curses. And punishment and destruction. And punishment and destruction. To the heathen. To the heathen. And shake loose the treasure. And shake loose the treasure. Of the rich of Israel. Of the rich of Israel. That refuse to give to the school. That refuse to give to the school. Force their riches. Force their riches. To enter into thy sanctuary. To enter thy sanctuary. Send evils and curses. Send evils and curses. And punishment and destruction. And punishment and destruction. To the Edomites. To the Edomites. And the nations. And their nations. And their drug dealers. And their drug dealers. The court system. The court system. The prison system. Prison system. Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood. All the governments of our enemies. All the governments of our enemies. Amalek synagogues and armies. Amalek synagogues and armies. Roman Catholic Church. Roman Catholic Church. The Pope. The Pope. Islam. Islam. Christianity. Christianity. Egyptology. Egyptology. Militia. Militia. Ku Klux Klan. Ku Klux Klan. Aryan Nation. Aryan Nation. Skinhead. Skinhead. Posse Comitatus. Posse Comitatus. The gay movement. The gay movement. The lesbian movement. The lesbian movement. Spies. Spies. Workers of witchcraft. Workers of witchcraft. NASA space program. NASA space program. Army. Army. Navy. Navy. Air Force. Air Force. Marines. Marines. Wall Street. Wall Street. Open up the internet. Open up the internet. And the airwaves. And the airwaves. Cable access channel. Cable access channel. And the radio channel. And the radio channel. Convict the spirit. Convict the spirit. Of any of thy people. Of any of thy people. That seek to stop us. That seek to stop us. And bring swift destruction to all the heathen. That bring the swift destruction to all the heathen. That stand in the way. That stand in the way. Or try to stop us. Or try to stop us. From broadcasting your words. From broadcasting your words. Throughout the planet Earth. Throughout the planet Earth. Let loose all the plagues. Let loose all the plagues. Cause it to go to and fro. Cause it go to and fro. Through the earth and consume them. Through the earth and consume them. Let the plague shake. Let the plague shake.
The house of the thief and the murderer.
The house of the thief and the murderer.
Let Yahushua.
Let Yahushua.
Michael and Gabriel.
Michael and Gabriel.
Come down with the flying saucers.
Come down with the flying saucers.
And punish all the heathens.
And punish all the heathens.
That come up against us.
That come up against us.
As we speak thy word.
As we speak thy word.
Cause it be known by all.
Cause it be known by all.
It is the angels that have done it.
It is the angels that have done it.
Cause it be spread through the media.
Cause it be spread through the media.
Throughout the whole world.
Throughout the whole world.
Cause them to shake at thy coming.
Cause it is shake at thy coming.
In the name of Yahushua.
In the name of Yahushua.
Thank you always.
Thank you always.
So be it.
So be it. So, which means to turn. Curse you to the teacher, men of Israel, Mount Shabbat, Amazon, Barak, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Barakatah.
Yahweh Shem Yahweh Barakatah.
Yazmatah. Curse you to the sister watching online. So, men of Israel, Mount Shabbat, Amazon, Barak, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Barakatah, Yazmatah. Class dismissed.